Our next speaker is a very interesting and energetic person. He's now working in Sweden in KTH, that is the Royal Institute of Technology, the very famous university in Sweden. He's acting as a technology transfer manager and business coach, helping both students and scientists realize their dreams in the area of business. He recently came back from Silicon Valley, where he spent a year, and probably has a lot of valuable insights to share about how to do innovation. So, I am very glad to welcome on the stage Mr. Donnie Lygonis.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Let's see, I need something to, I have 2,000 slides today. So we have until 4, right? Right. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so glad to be back. And you also even rigged the weather for me. It's wonderful. Thank you. It almost feels like home. It's my second or third time here now. I'm really pleased to be here. And I'm going to spend the next sort of 40-ish minutes walking you through how we work with early stage innovation support at KTH. Try and give you a hands-on approach on how we try and do it, and I'll try and also add some personal reflections to it as we go along. As you might notice, I speak really fast. And as I get excited, which I will do, I will speak even faster. So for everyone's sake and for the presentation's clarity, please start listening really quickly now. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if you know about KTH, but very, very briefly, it's the largest tech university in Sweden, half of Swedish tech research. We have 10, it's becoming 5 schools. We're doing a huge simplification process where we're putting 10 schools into 5, and we're making it much better. 5 strength areas, 15,000 students in education, 5,000 employees in research and administration. We just celebrated 100 years. The campus just celebrated 100 years. Where I work, we had actually had 100 talks, 50 hours straight of a 100 talks marathon. I know, I moderated the event, so it was a 2.5 day, 50-hour thing. It was cool. But actually, the university was founded in 1827 as the Royal Institute of Technology, but if you follow the history for Christopher Polhem, who was the Swedish engineer, he actually founded the engineering university in 1674. So that's short about the university. We are a very active part of the European EIT collaboration, which you all know about. We're very proud to be working and heading up 4 KICs, digital, health, raw materials, and energy in Stockholm. And the innovation support done in those KICs in Stockholm at KTH is being led by us at KTH Innovation. So me and my colleagues, we double or triple as business coaches, as innovation support in the KICs, and a lot of other things as well. A brief history of KTH Innovation, or the innovation support at the universities. What happened was, historically, this is what the landscape has looked like. You have academia over here, you have incubators and business over here, and then you have a big sort of gap of the chasm of here in the middle. And the reason for that gap has been many. I mean, this is a very simplified model, but in general, what we're speaking about. The mindset in academia hasn't been about utilization or commercialization in that kind of way. The incentives in Sweden, as very other few countries, we still have the professor's privilege, which means that if you do research in a Swedish university, you own the rights to your research yourself. We don't, as a university, we don't own any rights of anything that's being researched or developed. So there's no incentive from the university to go out and look after our rights. So my job, as compared to maybe an American tech transfer manager, is very different. I mean, if you have somebody from Stanford here, slide number 3 will be, oh, and look how much money we made in our licenses last year. We don't have those slides because that's not how we don't make money because we don't own anything of the research. You own it as a researcher in Sweden, which has made the problem with the incentivization from both the university side and from the researcher side. There's no sort of drive to commercialize. The academic career, of course, it's about publishing, and it's about becoming a professor and getting a chair. It's not about starting a company, historically. So, I mean, this is also added on to the gap. And of course, the know-how. I mean, the few people who have decided to do something with their ideas, they've sort of then come to the incubator and say, I have the idea, and then the incubator, being quite far over on that end, says, where's your business plan? How are you going to make money? And the researcher goes, I don't know. I do research. I think this is a cool idea. And then it stops. And then, very, very few manage to sort of get all the way in there. It takes an enormous drive. And for most researchers, the whole utilization and commercialization process is something that has to be, and out of the university perspective, something that has to be done after you've done your research, or on top of your research or your studies. So do research, study, education, research, and then this commercialization, yada, yada, that you keep, free time, whatever, not important. So all of this has sort of led to a huge gap between academia and business. So in 2007, the Swedish government decided to start something called the Innovation Office Program, where they started giving universities money to start building professionally oriented innovation support offices. So in 2008, the money came in, and then we started building the whole thing. I came in early, when was that? 2009. And what we've done the last 10 years is sort of bridge the gap between the research and education and incubation and business. So we've built a bridge straight into incubators and straight into business, straight from academia. So I work with students and researchers that are part-time entrepreneurs. They are doing studies, they're doing research, and I help them get good to go. And when we're finished with them, they are in an incubator. When we're finished with them, they are running a company, or we have sold a license or something. So that's what we do. We offer free early-stage innovation support. No charge, no equity. We are employed by the university. We're funded half by the university, half by the government. Well, 45%, and 10% from the EIT. As I said, no charge. We're a department. We're a service. So come to us, and we'll help you with whatever you need. We were founded KTH Innovation in 2007. We're 14 people today. We work with about 300 new cases per year, meaning about 1,000 people come to our offices and say, hey, I think I have an idea, because there's usually 2 or 3 people in every idea. And about 10 to 15% in a sunny, good, nice weather day, downhill, and everything is working, comes out the other end as what we call success. In a nutshell. Beautiful, ta-da! This is what we look at in a good day. In a good day. I'm so proud of being a part of this super team of colleagues. And we have a number of key success factors at KTH Innovation. And I'd say one of the main success factors is the people. My boss, our spiritual leader and a great boss, Lisa Eriksson, she's the one that has been the super smart person recruiting other super smart people with relevant industrial experience. All of us that work in KTH Innovation has some kind of relevant industrial experience. Some of us are even academics. Some of them are even academics. But it's all about having some kind of experience, some kind of relevant know-how or network, so you can help or at least relate to the person that comes into the room. Because you don't want a situation where the person you meet says, this person has no idea what I'm talking about, because they've never done it themselves. You have to have some kind of relationship to what you're trying to help people with. We help them with basically anything they might need in an early stage to get them, as I said, good to go. It could be IPR, it could be funding, it could be technology, customers, team, business models, packaging, presentation, pre-incubation, everything to sort of move them forward. And we've set up a reasonably good process. We're very proud to be ranked high on the ranking in Sweden and internationally. In Sweden, we're ranked #1 in the Innovation Office support out of 25 innovation offices. And according to the MIT ranking, which of course they were #1 in, we were number 10 in the world, so we're really proud about that. Our place in the KTH, in the university ecosystem. One thing we did early on was sort of looking at the ecosystem of where we were and how we were working. So we very early on, Lisa Eriksson spent a lot of time with another guy called Per Hedberg, who was in an incubator, and they started looking at how do we build an ecosystem that works in the university. So what we did, we sort of backed up towards the source, and then Sting, which was the incubator, they moved a bit further on, and then we've worked really, really hard to make the sort of, not the circles, but the squares here overlap. So we work with the very first part. We do a lot of talks on campus. We don't have any credit-giving coursework. We don't give courses, but we do a lot of inspirational talks on campus. We try and meet as many students and labs as possible to talk about innovation. I do a lot of talks, inspirational talks, based on my experiences as an entrepreneur and as, well, I went to the US as well, yes. I spent a year in Palo Alto setting up the Nordic Innovation House, which is a Nordic, well, and when I was there, you were part of the Nordics, by the way, because everybody thought we were. So, I mean, yeah, it was the same. I mean, I'm just happy that they didn't think Swedes were, making watches and selling cheese. So, yeah, so a lot of inspirational talks, and then, trying to find people, and then getting them into a verification stage, and then moving them ahead. And actually, when we started, what happened was here, we had a situation where we took them to a point, and then we phoned Sting, and we said, okay, incubator people, we have a case. And then they went, okay, let's have a look at it. And then they'd had this, oh, well, let's see, is it good, is it not? And we had a situation where cases left us, and then they sort of stopped for a while before they sort of could enter incubation. So we've worked really, really hard in making this overlap. So what happens is 6 to even up to 12 months before you leave us, you'll have met a coach from Sting or from the InnoEnergy or any other of the incubators, and we'll have, sit down, have meetings, discussions, and when we decide, actually the criteria that Sting has set up for entry, we've taken and we've sort of doubled them. So if a case from us meets our criteria for them, we can place a case in the incubator without them having to say yes or no, because they know it's good to go. So it's a completely seamless transition. And that's one of the reasons that we get a high ranking, is that we have a very good speed from us into incubation. We put a lot of things into incubation. There's no sort of stop gap here. If you are a researcher and you're doing research and you want to continue doing research, you just want somebody to take care of your idea and run it as a American or UK or Anglo-Saxon tech transfer thing, we do have a holding company that we have set up. It's a commercial entity owned by the university where we can do a royalty deal and run it as a traditional tech transfer thing. If you are a researcher and you want to continue to do research, because we don't want to force brilliant researchers to become mediocre entrepreneurs. We want to either team them up with really good entrepreneurs and create teams that create fantastic things, or we help them take over their research and we do a license deal for them. Anything that works. And we're constantly trying to reevaluate and reshape and improve the way we do things. Super simple process. You know the old saying, especially us engineers, right? Making something complicated is really, really easy. And making something easy is really, really complicated. So we've spent a lot of time trying to make as easy process as possible. It's super simple. It's, and it's a very sort of open start. Anybody can send an email and say, hi, I think I have an idea, and come to a first meeting. As long as you are a part of the university, if you're signed up for some kind of a coursework, if you're employed as a researcher, if you work at the university, and the idea has got something to do with what the university is about. Doesn't have to be high-tech. It can be low-tech, as long as it's not no-tech. We're a tech university, after all. And we're funded with tax money to help our ideas come out to the market. So if you want to do something else, you're happy to do that, but then Sweden is full of support systems for entrepreneurship and, the whole thing. You come and you meet me, we have a cup of coffee, and then we go through the idea, and then you enter some kind of an idea phase here, where we work with just describing, instead of 3 to 6 weeks, and then we enter a verification stage when we start working with early stage verification. This is where we start working with funding. I'll come back to the funding in a minute. And then you enter a project stage where we just try and push you that way. I mean, this can take, it says 3 to 9 months, but I mean, this whole process can be, it's not linear. You can come to us for one meeting, we can meet you for one day, or you can be a part of our process for 4, 5, 6 years if you're in heavy research. My longest case from here to incubator here was 4 years and 10 months. And through that, we iterated 2 or 3 times in the technology of different kinds of customers and different kinds of business cases and different kinds of ways of trying to make it work. Oh, it didn't work, back to the drawing board. But we knew it was a good, solid tech. Oh, didn't work, back to the drawing board. And try again, and try again, and try again. We got new ideas, 30 to 40 companies per year that are started. 30 to 40 intra-3 incubation program, 10 companies per year into incubators, 30 deals with customers, 4 million euros commercial funding cases per year, 20, 30 team recruitments per year, 25 applications per year. And this patent applications is interesting because, I mean, since we're not sort of in charge of this at the university, there are loads of more patent applications being done at the university through research that doesn't go through us. You don't have to go through us. But this is just what we see. So when it comes to the funding part, which could be interesting to see how that's the second of the key success factors that I would want to sort of stress is what has made it work so well, is that when the Swedish innovation agency, Vinnova, set up this program, they also set aside some very early stage prototyping, verification money. But they realized that they would never have time to administer all of these applications. If they're going to set up 25 offices that were running X amount of hundreds of ideas per year, they'd never have time to administer it centrally. So they gave us the money to look after. So they give us a certain amount of money, depending on how many cases we estimate that we will fund the coming year, and then we run it ourselves, and then they check us after the year to make sure that we've done it in a good way. And that has actually helped a lot. Because what happens is that we have validation and proof of concept funds, it's called VFT1 in Swedish, and it's all about getting things to market, closer to a customer, closer to some kind of utilization. We cannot we cannot fund things just because, we cannot fund research if it's, the last state of research. We cannot fund, oh, I need a web page, or I'd like an app, that would be cool. We can't pay for that. But if you come to us and you say, okay, I've been speaking to a customer, I have a letter of intent that if I do have an app, they will run a pilot project with me. That works, because then it's a customer, and there's something going to happen in the next step. That's what we can help fund. The stages, we have another program, which is the very first stage. So, in general, I can go back to the how this works. That one. You see? Here. About here, me as a single business coach, if you came to me with an idea, I could help you go to a trade show or build a very early prototype or do something, and I can give you personally, maybe I can sign off to up to say 2,000 euros sitting in a meeting. You never get the money. I pay the bills. So that's another thing. We pay the bills. We never give people money. And you can't use the money for salaries. It's only for helping you get to where you're going by using, tech consultants or tickets or whatever you need to go. Then you come to this verification stage, and that's when we come to the more sort of advanced tool, which was the one I was going to go through here, where we have 4,000 to 7,000 euros in a first step, and then it's me as a business coach, together with you, we write an application, and then we send it in to the rest of the business coaches, and then we meet every other week, and we go through all the applications that we've sent ourselves. And we're horrible to each other. we're the harshest jury ever. Why do they need the money for this? Are you sure? Is this a good idea? So anyway, so then the first step there, we can and we run it ourselves. Every other week, we have a coach meeting where we go through applications. And then once per month, we do about 50 or 60 of those per year. And then we use external consultants to do market surveys, customer interviews, whatever it might take. And then once a month, we have an external controlling board that can help us apply for up to 20,000 euros, 200,000 kroners. So that's like the third step. You have to be a part of KTH, you have to be a concept with potential, some kind of innovative step as well. Use of funding would be things like early prototyping, market contacts, go to an initial fair, travel experts, recruitment, patenting, not to pay for the patent, but we can pay for the patent engineers that will help you write the application. Legal issues, we do a lot of work with external legal advisory boards, because we have a patent engineer and a legal counsel employed in the team for advice, but we cannot help you, write contracts, because then the university will be liable towards whatever contract we've written. So then we pay you to meet an external legal advisor to help you write contracts. Testing, pilots. We love this. This is the best thing ever. If we can get going with some kind of pilot, some kind of market, some kind of customer, some kind of user, that's what everything we do aims to that. The value of funding, yes, of course. For average per gig, we run about 5 to 20 different customer contacts. Lucky it wasn't further down. When I did this in Västerås, it was like 3 yards down into the orchestra hall, and I completely fell off the stage. Pilots, corporations, 25%, 12% beta testers with users. So it's kind of a good hit rate. Typical examples of verification questions would be, I need to attend the largest trade fair and talk to at least 10 potential partners and find one interesting in testing. Produce a first prototype and launch it in private beta in order to collect every early user data. Again, it's all about moving you towards a market, towards a customer, towards a user. We're super focused on extremely early market exposure. I had a phone call from the people that run the Lean Startup Conference in San Francisco, based on Eric Ries's book, Lean Startup. And they were sort of, we've heard that you work in a Lean Startup methodology. And I go, yeah, that's kind of how we work. How much do you use the book in your work? And I was like, when was the book published? That was like 4 years after we started. Okay, cool. Who learned what from whom? No, but I mean, we've always had this approach to how we do this. Lots of data. Companies, exits, funding, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Data. Okay, 2 main tracks. You come to us, you have an idea. 2 main tracks. One, you want to go into startups. Okay? If you are running an idea that could become a startup, then you can apply to be a part of our pre-incubation program. You're still part of the process, you're still part of us, it's nothing, nothing external, but it's in campus. We have offices where you can spend time with your project team and get your thing going. And we've set up a 12-month process where 3 or 4 times per year we accept. We've changed it. We used to have like a constant intake of cases. Now we've changed it, actually, for a marketing perspective. So 3 to 4 times per year we open up and we say, it's time to apply for the batch 7 of the pre-incubation program. And send your application before the 31st of March. As you all know, deadlines drive results. So there has to be a deadline, other people don't do anything. For anything. So three times per year we open up, we take in 10 cases, and then they meet every week for lunch. We have a program, of course. We have templates and programs, and we measure everything. We're big on data. And then we meet every week with a lead coach, and takes you through a 12-month process. Again, about market testing, first sale. Again, this is like later stage of our process, in the project stage of our process. So we run between 30 or 50 projects per year through this pre-incubation process. We've done about 145 sort of companies so far the last 3 or 4 years. And this is an example of if maybe in phase 1, somewhere here, week number 4, this is like a typical lunchtime sort of lesson where we'd go through talking to customers based on some kind of a book or maybe something like that they get as well. And then learning objectives, what's this lesson about, how to talk to customers in better ways, how to ask good questions, and then we have a very, very short introductory talk, 10 to 15 minutes, and then we let them work together in the teams during lunchtime. It's not about us talking to them for 1 hour, it's about them talking to each other for an hour and exchanging their own experiences. And for them, it's a learning process to meet 9 other cases that are in the same kind of situation, and they can sort of exchange experiences or questions, or how do you do this? We don't know. And then, of course, lots of worksheets with lots of homework and, just pushing them forward and giving them the help they need to understand where to go. And that brings us to this. This is another third, maybe, key success, or one of the fundamentals of how we work. Because, as you all know, being distinguished business developers and innovation people and super smart people, you all know that most people who say they work with business development have no idea what they're doing. It's such an easy thing to say, yeah, well, I work with business development. Yeah, but what do you do? Well, I develop business. Yeah, but what do you actually do? When I sit down and I speak to them and I have good ideas. But how do you business develop an early stage idea in an actual measured way so you know where you are, where you're going, how much you've done, and what you've got left? So one of the first things we did was trying to sort of figure out, okay, how are we going to measure, assess, and help and build a tool for us to be able to run 300 cases per year in a huge caseload for very few people? And how are we going to help the people that come to us understand what they need to do? Because it's super smart people, I'm not saying they're stupid, but sometimes they just don't know what they should be doing. So we developed a tool. It's based on the NASA TRL model, which is widely used in Europe. And then we just built it into another totally 6 dimensions with tech, customer, team, business, IPR, and funding. And then it's both a self-assessment tool, so you can assess where you are from 1 to 9 on each axle, but it's also a very good progressive biz dev tool, because I can sit down as a business coach with you, and we can talk about customers. Okay, where are you in customers? Well, we think we're at 5, and we go through the definitions. No, you're at 2. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. But when we sit and talk about which activities could or should we be doing to move from 2 to 3, it gives you a list of things you could be doing in all of these dimensions. And that's when it becomes a really powerful early stage business development tool. This is how the customer readiness level looks like, 1 to 9, hypothesis on possible needs in market, and then going up towards confirmed needs from several customers to customers and extended product testing on the first test stage. We usually don't follow projects further than maybe 6 or 7. Then they're in incubation. But, so we let go somewhere maybe here, I'd say. We do a lot of, and this is, breaking it down. Oh, this horrible picture. Yuck. But this is just breaking, this is the reverse side of the customer readiness tool, where we have definition of each step, where you can sort of read more about each step. And for everybody who is interested in this is part of the confidential package, by the way. But we are publishing this whole tool online during 2018, free for all, because we all need to innovate faster to fix the world. So it's going to be published online for everybody that wants to use it and come into it. And as long as you don't forget where it came from, that's all we want to do. Team, another example. One thing that we've sort of caught up with is the early stage teamwork, because we know that if we measure everything that fails later on, it's almost, if we verify the technology, that's easy. You know, hard stuff, you can verify hard stuff. But when it comes to the teamwork, that's usually where it fails. So we do a lot of work with teamwork, we do a lot of work with recruitment. Again, we have a number of recruitment tools to bring people in, and we build teams, and we combine teams, and we mix teams. Because, you know, people realize ideas. Ideas don't realize themselves. It's all about the people. So, yes, moving on, how we work. As I said, no coursework, no credits, but we do a lot of workshops and tutorials. We have 3 base workshops that we run a number of times per year, and we've intentionally made them into, you know, standardized formats. So any of the business coaches or anybody at KTH Innovation can basically take the 3-hour innovation plan and go and do a workshop with anybody at campus. And we know that we're running the same kind of thing for everybody. This is one of my pet projects the last 5 or 6 years. It's the Early Bird Network. It started with an idea that successful ideas are a combination of ideas, opportunity, people, and money. That sort of, you know, comes together. So how do we... Was that 15 minutes?
It's a score. You're doing 10 out of 10.
Okay, just 10 minutes. Not just shut that up. No, okay.
It's 10 minutes.
Okay, get it. 10 minutes. I'll just speak faster, no problem. Getting people in to meet our cases, and not necessarily money, because they are pre-incorporation. They're very, very early stage. They wouldn't even know what to do with money if you gave them like €1 million. You know, but they need networks. They need people to open doors. They need business know-how. They need experience. So we have a number of ways of, you know, connecting people to our cases. One, which is the innovation panel, where we use the alumni a lot. It's a market survey tool where we do a very short, like Kickstarter-ish kind of video. And then we can send it out to a network of up to, well, we have 85,000 people in the alumni network. But, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 people in the right kind of area of business can get like a market survey on a specific case, and then they can answer lots of questions, and they can write free text. And that's actually turned really, really successful, because we get a lot of information back from our networks on the specific ideas that they get to evaluate. So we use the alumni and our business network to evaluate our ideas, and they open doors, and they open networks, and they, you know, things like that. Next step for that is the alumni mentor programs, where we're using alumni to be not mentors one-to-one, but to be mentors for a case. And we have a wonderful, wonderful network of alumni. I mean, the Spotify people, I mean, half of Spotify is from KTH all over the world. Sebastian in Lyft, you know, Uber's biggest competitor in the US. He started as an app programmer 6 years ago. Today he's head of self-driving efforts in Lyft. We have Alex in Google X Labs. I mean, so many people all around the world that want to help. Then we can tap into the alumni networks and have them as mentors for cases. We do breakfast meetings 3 times per year, when we invite people up to the university, and we have a very, very short pitch. Not the traditional pitch event, but a very short presentation of projects. And then we do value creation forum, where we actually work with feedback sessions for 20 minutes with the people in the room and the cases, so we create value. We don't just want to have a bunch of people eating free breakfast, listening to cases, and then leaving. We want everybody to create value. Always create value. Too many pitch events where you give people free food and they just come and eat and they listen and they go. No point in that for anybody. It's a waste of time. And then the most fun thing is the Early Bird Corporate, which is one of the new things I'm running with now. It's if you're interested in the whole sort of interface, large corporations, startups, and vice versa, I'd suggest you go to a place called Ignite Sweden. It's a huge government-backed project that we've run now for a year. It's just going into its second year, ignitesweden.org. There's lots of videos from the last events there, from everybody from KLM and BMW and Sandvik and Ericsson and Pfizer and all the people who were in. And this was it's a project that is trying to sort of reinvent interfaces between large companies and small. Super interesting place to go to find lots of resources and to follow that project. I suggest that because the reason I started with this is when I tried to sell my company to Ericsson in 2006, Ericsson looked like this, right? Actually, I'm giving them a lot of credit because they didn't even have a bridge. It was like, you know, the Monty Python sketch. I was standing down here with coconuts, and they were up there looking down at me, you know. Yeah. And I mean, and this is like what I see. And then after spending a year in the US and having so much experience myself of trying to sell companies to large corporates, being on the corporate side and working with startups, I realized that we have to sort of reinvent the whole paradigm of how we work. So this picture is the old picture. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah, he gave me another one. Perfect. This is great. He's getting more and more and more. This is the new paradigm. You know, it still is a big piece of stone stuck in the ground, but it's alive in an ecosystem with small fish, big fish. Sometimes the big fish eats the small fish, and sometimes they just exchange nutrition. You know, it's a living ecosystem, and this is what we're supposed to build when we're talking about innovation systems of the future. Living ecosystems where anything goes, basically, and there's a reinvention going on every day. There is no rule book. You cannot say, this isn't going to work because we didn't do it like this yesterday. Well, yesterday was yesterday, and today is today, and tomorrow's tomorrow. There are no rule books. Every rule book that was ever written was thought up by somebody who thought that was a good idea then. Yeah, but that was then. Rule books are guides. They're not rule books. So, you know, reinvent. I won't go through our case studies, tons of case studies, but, you know, lots of fun things. We do lots of collaboration. But examples. One example of an entrepreneur coming from us going into energy. One example of KTH working with the Stockholm School of Economics, one from each, and where we both teamed up, both of our innovation offices. Daniel Kalman, external entrepreneur recruited into Manomotion. 7 researchers, 1 entrepreneur doing great things. And then social entrepreneurship, NGO, no sort of hard money base, but doing wonderful things for saving Africa and educating the people of the world. So lots of, you know, things. Skip that. Thank you, Donnie. Hi, thank you.
Don't skip that. Thank you. Woo, standing ovations. You see people standing up, bringing flowers to you. No, actually they're leaving.
Everybody's leaving now.
They're leaving. Oh, they're just being polite, waiting for you to finish and then leave.
Finally, I can go to the toilet. Yeah.
Maybe you were the kind of, you know, the keynote speaker. They just waited for you and then they left.
So I mean, everybody can go home now. No,
yeah. But we have
great speakers left. I want to listen to that guy.
But the good thing is we have spectators also on the balcony now. You know, hello, Giannis.
Yeah.
All right, we have a question here.
Sure. Ask me anything, almost.
Oh, hello. Thank you for your presentation. It was so excellent. It's no words for them. and my question was, and you answer in this last slide, this bright slide. My question was about, do you think about planet sustainability? You thought. Our planet sustainability.
Yes.
You think. Yeah. But my question about customer.
Yes.
You mentioned so many times customer.
Yes.
Customer is king, we know. But customer isn't God. How isn't God? Customer isn't God.
Sorry?
It's from the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
You know, they say customers are not gods.
No.
No.
They're always right, but they're not gods.
Customer is king,
yes.
but he is not God.
Yep.
No.
How you find right customers?
How I find
right customers? Right.
You know, those with the money and always
Yeah. No,
happy.
that's a good question, and I probably it sounded like you know, everything was a customer, but let's say customer, member, user. You know, the main objective when we work is to make people understand that it's not only about what you want to do or sell or offer, it's more about what other people want to use or buy or be part of. Because we need to move people from a very self-centered, oh, I've invented this incredible technology, to how will this actually create value in the world. And when we talk about innovation, we have like a three-step thing where you have ideas, inventions, and innovation. And ideas are run-of-the-mill. Ideas aren't worth anything. An idea isn't worth anything, especially not up here, until it starts being done. That's when it starts becoming worth something. It turns into an invention, and that's when the engineer phones home and says, "Hi, Mom, I've invented a thing. I'm finished." And Mom goes, "No, honey, you're not finished, because you're not finished with innovation until the invention is put in a context where it generates value for somebody that's using it, and that's innovation."
But she says, then I love you anyway.
Sorry?
The mom.
Yeah. It's
okay, we have a
mom.
next question. We have to be very quick with questions and answers.
Yeah. Donnie, what you are showing is that the system, what you have, is very simple in a way, So you have approach, you have kind of open door policy, so which means that you have to build on trust, you have to build on openness. My question is about, of course, this is a more rhetoric question, but I hope you have some comment on that, how to build it, because not every country and not every, is ready for that. One thing is building trust and openness within university, but my question is about how do you convince the state actually to invest, because what you are saying, this is early investment and this is state money, so there is no private funding. So how do you work with politicians to convince them to that you are worth to be trusted?
Yeah, that's an incredibly good question, and I think that one of the fundamentals. I mean, as I do my presentation, it sounds like I take a lot of things for granted, but I've had the great fortune of being able to travel the world. I've been to Africa, where trust issues, government is different. Let's just put it that way, and India and all over the world, and. The big thing in Sweden, I think, that there's been a built-in, we trust the system and the system trusts us. The national sport in Sweden is not cheating on your taxes, as in Greece, where I come from. Basketball and not paying taxes, that's the Greek national sports. So the trust part is super simple, but the only way to build trust in personal, organizational, or societal is to earn it. You can only earn trust by working for years and years and years without it, and in the end, people start trusting you. We spent the first 3 or 4 years in KTH Innovation working with commercialization, which they didn't even let us into the labs if we said that. It was only utilization the first 4 years. If we said commercialization, they threw us out. But after 4 or 5 years, it changed the society, entrepreneurship, startups. We constantly doing a good job, never just showing results. Results. In the end, people say, okay, well, I'll give you my idea. It looks like you've done good stuff. Never, always be the bigger person. Never, ever sort of try and be somebody you aren't. Just deliver. Deliver, year after year, and in the end, it will come. That's the only thing I can do.
Persistency. All right. Thomas.
Yeah, my name is Tom Schmidt. I'm an associate partner with Accelerace in Denmark. And I want to thank you. Because what you talked about is a lot of really boring things, but done in a really great way. Because when I sit down with startups in Latvia and I say, okay, let me show you the program book. This is what you're going to do in our accelerator. Here are the trainings. Here are the things that we track on you. Here are the business labs. Here's how the homework you have to do for the business lab, etc. They say, oh, no, you don't understand. You have to teach me how to pitch.
Thomas, do you have a question?
I do. I have a question.
Yep.
How long did it take you to come to the place where people accept these boring things?
We never tell them about them. I never show them this. It's like not a need-to-know basis, but a want-to-know basis. So much information, so much tracking, so much data that it's increasing communication by minimizing information. There's only so much information you need to see.
All right, next question.
Yeah. Thank you for your nice presentation. A lot of things which are very important for us, but absolutely not clear for us here in Latvia. Yes. My first question is, how expensive is patenting in Sweden? For example, for individual person and for university, and how it happens? This is first. Second is about this market potential evaluation of innovation. Because at the beginning, for example, you are very enthusiastic and you say, okay, after that some research you are saying, oh, it doesn't happen. Who are paying for such activities? I have many questions, but not maybe later.
We have another speaker after me before lunch, I know that.
We have a coffee break.
About this price for patent.
Yeah. I mean, the patent part is really interesting because we spend a lot of time talking about patent strategy. Is this even worth patenting, or should we just go to market with a black box, black box method? If it's worth patenting, where shall we patent it? Which markets are worth patenting in? Sweden is usually, you can start up a very simple process for like, just like €1,000 or something, not even that, 500 euros. But usually we go to the US or any other bigger market early, and you get the filing done. And then you have like 18 months to decide if it's going to work or not. And during the 18 months while you're waiting for the patent office to decide if you get a patent or not, you have 18 months for early market verification. And then when you get after 18 months, yes or no for the patent, you can decide if you want to pay the big money to actually use the patent. So we spend a lot of time on patent strategy. We don't just sort of file patents. And that's in our disadvantage because we tend to be ranked low in an international perspective on like, how many patents we take. But that is because, one, we don't stand for all the patents in KTH. I mean, hundreds of patents being taken outside of KTH Innovation by the labs themselves because they're completely autonomous. And then two, for us, patents aren't, the main thing to move something from your head into society. The only thing I can say to a researcher is, I know that publishing in PDF is not going to save the world. Help me get your idea into the world. That will help save the world.
Yes, so you showed this really smart process of how you start the idea and how then you kick them out in the world. So to me it seems a very short process compared to other processes. So one question, does it really work, being so short? And secondly, what is like administrative structure for you to ensure this rigid process?
You mean our innovation process?
Yeah,
but I mean,
the one you showed on the slide.
Yeah, but I mean our process is very fluid, 6 to 60 months.
Okay, so that's not really fixed.
Yeah, it's, depending on how long you need to work with us. And as long as you are a part of the school, we can work with you. But when you start making money as a commercial entity, then our governmental funding isn't allowed anymore. So then we have to let go and push you into the next step. So there are a number of sort of fail-safes built in that will ensure that you actually move forward in the process. Because once you become successful, you aren't allowed to be part of us anymore. Then you have to move on. I mean, kick the kids out and give them a flat of their own and give their own lives, for Christ's sake. Don't stay at home until you're 28.
Or 29, okay.
So my name is Yanis, and you already almost answered to my question. So how many students dropped out of the university because you supported them? So.
Very good question. Spotify being the best example of all of them. No, I mean, that's one of our dilemmas. And that's what we're working really, really hard on that because, and as you know, as KTH is funded by the government as a university when the students graduate and take their exams. So if we make them quit school and go out and do things, then the KTH aren't paid for that student. So it's kind of a tricky situation. But we work a lot together with the schools to ensure that the students that we work with also take their credits at the same time. So we do spend a lot of time trying to build ways of the students being able to run both startups and take credits. But it's a fluid thing. You can do some startup and then you can come back. And most students that come to us are in like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th year. We don't get many sort of 1st or 2nd years because they're just out of high school and they're completely sort of like that. Their brains are mush, and then like 3 years later it starts working again. So it usually coincides quite nicely with their graduation and us finishing working with them, usually. Yes?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask, what was your 3 top challenges you successfully overcome in order to create such a successful entity to support startups?
What was my what? The
Top 3 challenges you overcome in building up.
Wow. Really, really smart people with really good questions in this room. One, of course, was when we started, it was like this, again, this plug-in for an entity. The university had this history of being about research and education. And then they perceived us as some kind of a new thing, because they only knew about the old incubation system. They didn't know this new thing which was on campus, which was a support. But that challenge we overcame by just working hard and delivering and always trying to be the bigger person. And of course, the whole societal change of entrepreneurship suddenly being something that one could work with. You know, 25 years ago, being an entrepreneur was like sort of, nothing to be strive for. Today, it's a different thing, even though the whole startup thing has gone overboard, and kids in startups just say they're in startups as a nice way of saying they're unemployed, but that's a different thing. Okay. Yes, that was number 1. And number 2, finding the right people, because still it's finding really competent people and saying, hey, come and work for the government. We'll half your salary, woohoo! But you can do great things, and that was a big challenge. But when I started in the university, I was like one of the first people in, stupid as I am. And all of my friends, entrepreneurs and business people said, are you crazy? University, boring, academia, slow, blah. 10 years later, they're going, Donnie, you've got the best job ever. Can you get me a job there as well? Because, now we're showing incredible results. We're having so much fun. We are the epicenter of innovation and entrepreneurship in Sweden, the universities now. We've changed the whole game. It's amazing. Companies come to us. Students enroll at KTH from all over the world because they want to become a part of the innovation system. It's working. We've got the whole thing. Stockholm is ranked number 2 in the world in the startup systems. It's the incredible things are happening. Now it's the best place ever. Yeah,
that was the product promotion probably here. So we have a few more questions and then we have to finish this.
Sorry.
Yeah, I have one question, basically 2 questions. One question is, how many architects are participating in your startups, as we are an architecture faculty? And the second one would be how it compares with Aalto University startups, AdFabs, and so on.
The first one is how many
architects, the students of architecture.
How many
students of architecture are participating in your innovation processes?
How many people? Or?
Yeah, architects, people.
Yeah.
How many architecture students?
Architecture. Sorry, I'm old and almost deaf. That's my 3rd challenge. I can't hear. 10 years in the army will do that to you. Anyway, I'd say we have representation from all schools at KTH. And we have I'd say architecture is represented as well. Maybe not as highly as the business-oriented or the project-oriented educations, but definitely architects as well. And they do all kinds of projects. I have technical physicists coming in doing like very sort of consumer-oriented apps. I have architects coming in doing chemistry things. It's very cross-border. But yes, we do have all disciplines represented. And the second question was? How do we compare to other universities?
Aalto University.
Aalto. Wow. Superheroes. They've done incredible work. When they managed to merge the universities, I'd say that they are a lot stronger than us when it comes to student-driven activities. The Aalto Venture Garage, Slash, and all of those things. The startup Sona, great work. I'd say we're stronger when it comes to actual university support and having the trust of the labs in helping them develop things. So I think, I probably, if we did a long race, it would probably ending the same time, but with different sort of strengths. But they're really, really good. We do a lot of work with them.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. Do you have a failure culture in the university?
Failure?
Failure culture.
Oh, yeah.
And if you have, what's the essence of it?
In the KTH Innovation, and in the pre-incubation program, everything like that. I mean, I say to everybody that comes to us, I say, welcome to your fail space. This is where we can play around, we can have fun, we can try things that we will not tell anyone outside of this room about because we're so ashamed that we tried it. You know the whole thing, if you at first don't succeed, stop and never admit you tried. That whole kind of thing. You know, but we had a lot of time. We know that, okay, failure isn't failure until you stop trying. Old cliche. But it's a big part of, we don't talk about fail or try and fail. It's about trying until it works. And you don't fail until you stop. I mean, that's a whole sort of mindset of how I live and how we live and how we work, is that you continue trying, doing something in different ways, because definition of madness is doing the same thing in the same way and hoping for different results. But, you know, try again until it works. If it doesn't work, try something different. It's just, but university, of course there's a built-in sort of fail thing, but we try and encourage people to come to us to try stuff, and we help them try stuff. That's why we do 4, 5, 6 different verification things up and down until something works. I can give you case examples of successful cases that have failed miserably 3 or 4 times along the way in our space. But that's what it's all about. I mean, good grief. That's why, you know, yeah. Do I have to be quiet now? Can I continue talking out there? I can take my mic off and I can talk.
Yeah. All right, I have a last question, probably the sweetest one. How's your ice cream business doing?
It's great. Yeah, very, very well. Yeah.
Good. You're eating yourself the products?
But it's a high protein, low sugar ice cream. That's why. Yeah, that's why.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Evidence.
That was an accident in 2014. I didn't mean to start an ice cream company. It just happened. Okay, don't hold it against me.
All right. Great. Thank you.